Hello makers! I'm still making with the new wonderful St. Patrick's Day release from Whimsy Stamps, and today I want to make a home decor piece that I'm going to use in my house. So I found a piece that I am going to decorate, and I got it from Hobby Lobby, and it's got 4 wooden circles. It has jute, and then it has beads in between, and then it has a bead and a little fringe at the end. So I'm going to put something on each of the 4. Now, I got this at Hobby Lobby, but I'm sure that there are some similar things that you can find in other craft stores in the wood decor section, or you could probably come up with something of your own if you would like out of chipboard or something like that. So I'm going to be using, again, the Celtic Mix quick card fronts. Absolutely love these. I'm using the 2 crosses for today's make. Then I pulled the St. Patrick's Day Slimline paper, and I pulled these 2 papers from the Slimline card pack. And just in case I may need some more paper, I went ahead from the Mix and Match one and I pulled this blue gingham, this green gingham, and this green polka dot from the Mix and Match 2. And then I'm going to be die cutting all of these papers with the Scallop circle frames die set. So all of the papers will be cut with that. And this should fit perfectly on my wooden rounds with just a little reveal. And then for the stamps today, I'm going to be using the St. Patrick's Day, Happy St. Patrick's Day stamp from Lucky Charm, one of the new stamp sets. And for my favorite stamp set, the St. Patrick's stamp set, I'm going to be using the May the Strength of God Pilot Us Prayer of St. Patrick. And I'll probably be putting these little shamrocks above and below. And that will go on one of the rounds as well. So those are the things I'm going to be using. And I want to invite you to come along and let's get making. The first thing I did was to get my distress paints out. And so I'm painting the round pieces with distress paint in picket fence, and I'm painting these beads in bundled sage. And once that was done, I wanted to show you what it looked like. So you can see that the round pieces really just look kind of whitewashed, and you can still see some of the grain through there. The beads look pretty solid, and I wanted to show you, since I already had the quick card fronts and the mix and match and the slimline pieces cut from that circle scallop die, I wanted to show you what it looked like that way, just painted, so that if you like the way that it looks this way, then we will pick it up with stamping these 2 pieces and moving right along. And you won't do the next couple of steps, but I personally like things to be a little bit distressed. So I have some steps that I'm going to do to make it look a little different. So I took my sanding block and I wanted to sand around the edges of each of the round pieces, and then I'm going to distress it with some hickory smoke distress spray stain as well as that jute tassel. So here I am sanding the edges of both the front and the back of each wooden round piece. And you can kind of go along, on part of the flat front as well. You don't have to just go along the edges. I also sanded off little areas on each of those green beads because I wanted those to look a little bit worn as well. So then you might notice I'm just kind of going back over each of the edges on those rounds, and I kind of feel them in between. I want to make sure that they aren't kind of sharp. I want to wear the edges down a little bit. And then once I did that to all 4 of the circular pieces and the beads, I put it in my splat box and I started spraying with that hickory smoke distress spray stain. Now this is a water-based stain or ink, and so it is going to be resisted by the paint, but where I sanded it, it will soak in and kind of look a little bit old and worn. And I'm hoping that it will kind of make this whole thing look a little bit weathered. Now, once I got it sprayed on both sides, I went through with just a dry paper towel and I wiped off the wet excess from the distress spray stain. You may want to use gloves when you do this, but I like to get in and get all inky. And you can see that I sprayed that tassel. And so then once I had that all done, wanted a little more. So I took my water wipes. I love these water wipes. I get them from Amazon and they're 99% water. And then as you can see, I just went through and I wiped off the flat piece and on the edges and each of those beads, and that just took off any excess dye that was sitting on the top flat. You can see how it just wipes that excess off that was sitting there that would probably come off anyway, but it still leaves the part that's soaked in so that it looks weathered. I really love how it turned out. Turned the jute just kind of a little grayed beige instead of just the warm beige. It added that kind of weathered grayed wood tone on the edges and underneath, and even on those beads. And so this is what it looks like with my scalloped die cut pieces. So I need to start adding some dimension and also stamping. So you can see here, I have stamped one of the St. Patrick prayers in gold and embossed it. And now I'm going to be adding this little arch of shamrocks above and below. But before I do that, I wanted to show you the difference in some of the product that I'm using. So this is gold superfine detail embossing powder from Ranger Ink, and this is just gold embossing powder. And I found that when I embossed with them, they look different. The superfine detail is really the look I want more than just the regular embossing. So for me, when I stamped my sentiment and used the gold embossing, it turned out really bumpy like that. That's already heat embossed and it was very rough and bumpy, which is a cool look, don't get me wrong. But I was really going for more of the smooth look in the one on the left, and I got that with the super fine detail. So I'm going to be using that for these. So I'm stamping them in black permanent ink on this one, so it just stay wet long enough, and then poured my embossing powder over it, the super fine detail one, and there you can see it's all covered, all the ink is covered, and then I'll go ahead and use my heat tool, and there it is, switching to a beautiful gold texture. And that's what I wanted, just a little bit more on the top and the bottom of that beautiful prayer sentiment. Now I have some hickory smoke distress ink, and I'm going around the outside of all of the inner circles and also around all of the outside scallops, and I will go around the inside of the scallops, and then I'm going to begin putting them on the wooden pieces. To cut them, I used the largest of the circle scallops, and that one piece cut out both the large circle and the scallop. And then I cut out 3 more of that same circle of some heavy, white heavy stock. I wanted something thick, and you can see that I am just layering them. So that's the third one. I cut 3 of those, layered them together, and now I'm going to put my center circle on top of those 3 white heavy stock circles, and that's going to give me some dimension in the middle of those scalloped circles. I just wanted just a little bit. And so as you can see, I did all four. I have something pushing down on them to make sure that they're nice and flat. And while they're continuing to dry, I went through and I picked up all of my inked scalloped circles and centered those, and then I put them on the wood. Now, on these with the crosses, I made sure that the little tip or bottom of the cross that got cut off and it's on the circle, I made sure that it was facing the bottom bead so that when it hangs up, the cross will be centered. Now you'll see me point it out again on this one. There it is. It's just a little bit at the bottom of the cross. And so I made sure that that was centered and facing the bottom. And now I'm going to line up the cross with that little bit at the bottom for the top one. So I lined it up, checked to make sure that it was straight, and I'm going to put 1 sentiment there in the second circle, another one of the crosses. I think these are just so beautiful, and they represent St. Patrick's Day so wonderfully. And then instead of using the large St. Patrick's sentiment here, I used the second prayer of St. Patrick on the last circle. And then I wanted to add a little bit more embellishment, so I used some This Calls for Confetti satin gold sequin confetti, and I thought that I taped myself attaching these and I didn't. So I just used my sticky tool and my favorite adhesive, and I went through and attached them onto each circle. Now, finally, here is the finished product. I have another very quick decor piece that I finished in just, a few hours actually. The longest part was painting and waiting for that paint to dry. So I showed you that you could actually paint these and distress them like I did, or you could paint them and leave them just as they are. It would make it even faster. Each circle was cut with that round scallop, circle scallop. They have the beautiful imagery, the wonderful colors from the Whimsy paper, and then just all strung together with the beads and the wooden circles. I think this is just going to be beautiful hanging in my home with those 2 prayers of St. Patrick as a reminder of the faith side of St. Patrick's Day. And I just think this St. Patrick's stamp set from Whimsy and the beautiful Celtic mix quick card friends are both so wonderful for doing that. Now here are some close-ups of today's project. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around with me as I make yet another St. Patrick's Day home decor piece. I just love decorating for St. Patrick's Day. And as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments below for this video. And if you'd like any of the products I used, I have links to those in the description for today's video. And with that, I want to wish you a very creative day.